Da 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 da! Welcome to the Valley of 10,000 Smokes tour. This valley is located in Katmai National Park, 265 miles southwest of Anchorage, Alaska. You take this tour from Katmai National Park at Brooks Falls. To go on the tour, you ride a elevated four-wheel drive adapted school bus. Let's go. Must be my seat on the front row. But first, a story.
I like to tell a couple stories, like to get everybody interested in what I've seen and heard out here. Several years ago, we had a lady that done just exactly what you did. She went through bear school, learned all she needed to learn. She went out to the falls with her group. She got ahead of her group, walked around the corner, and sure enough, she met a bear face to face. So what'd she do? She forgot everything she had learned in bear school. She laid down and played dead. The bear walked up to her, laid down next to her, and went to sleep. They went back to camp, got the main ranger, had him come out to decide what to do. They talked the situation over, decided she could get up real slowly and walk away, which she did, and the bear just stayed laying right there sleeping. So there is a picture floating around somewhere of a bear, and right next to it you can see a pink backpack. You can't see the lady too well, but you can see the backpack she was wearing. So there's that story. Now I'll tell you one more bear story. It happened about 3 weeks ago now. Some folks were on my bus just like you are now, and the next day I was loading the bus full of food and stuff coming off, and about to go through the bottom gate, and I hear something that sounds like a moose calf to me. Wah! Wah! I heard that about 6 times. I thought that moose calf ain't long for this world. The bear's gonna have it really quick. About that time, that moose calf quit calling out, and these two people jumped out in the road. They walked across the road, up the road about 10 yards and back into the woods. A bear on their tail about 20 yards away, just following them. And all of a sudden I hear, wah, wah. I screamed, "Be quiet!" And I pulled my bear spray, walked through the gate in case I had to haze the bear away, and I just shouted at it once and it left. And they came out of the woods. I said, "What in the world were you doing?" She said, "Well, just what I learned in bear school. They said to make a noise." I said, "Not like a wounded moose calf." True story. People's going to ask me, are these true? Yes, those are true stories. Really happened.
And we're off. To get to the Valley of 10,000 Smokes, you need to ride 23 miles one way. This takes 1.5 to 2 hours each way. The drive is broken up with stops for wildlife and scenic views. We made 2 stops on this trip, and one of them was at this rocky outcropping with its sweeping vista of marshy green river valleys and glacial moraines covered in forest, lush lower mountain slopes, and stunning rocky volcanic peaks. Just look how beautiful this place is. All these yellows and the reds just exploding through. Ah, it's gorgeous. This tour is available up from Brooks Falls area from June 5th to September 17th. We went on September 13th, and I have to say, I cannot imagine a prettier time to go. But I have to admit, some of my favorite parts of this road trip up was when we would cross the rivers. Oh my gosh. I mean, I know this is an elevated bus, but you just don't expect a school bus to be crossing a river. Thank you. The valley is called 10,000 Smokes because this area vented steam and gas for over 60 years as the valley surface slowly cooled. Robert Griggs, the early explorer of this area, wrote, "The whole valley, as far as the eye can reach, was full of hundreds, no thousands, literally tens of thousands of smokes curling up from its fissured floor." Cool sounding, huh?
These are all canyons that have been dug from the rivers through the volcanic ash layers.
Guy and I are going to hike down to the Valley of 10,000 Smokes, where we're going to go to a waterfall and then the confluence, and with the fall color it's going to be spectacular. I can't wait to take you along. Starting the trail down. Sounds like it's going to be about 900 feet down and 900 feet up. So I'm not sure which part's going to be the easy part, which part's going to be the hard part, but I hear it's the way back up that's tricky. In June 1912, Novarupta erupted with cataclysmic force, and enormous quantities of hot glowing pumice and ash ejected 100,000 feet into the air from the volcano, and molten material flowed over the entire area, destroying everything in the path. For several days, the eruptions darkened the skies over most of North America. Ash went as far as Africa, and when it was done, 40 square miles of land was buried under volcanic material, some as much as 700 feet deep. It is considered the fifth biggest eruption in the world and the largest in the 20th century. This eruption was 30 times as big as the eruptions at Mount St. Helens in 1980. Fortunately, there were a series of earthquakes prior to the eruptions, and the birds and animals all started rapidly leaving the area, and the Aleut people saw that as an omen and they left too. So there were no fatalities associated with this eruption. I recommend you dress in layers because on the way down you might need that coat. On the way up, that coat is hot. I'm taking it off. Oh my goodness, just look at this. It's like walking through a kaleidoscope of color. I recommend also wearing rain gear on the trail because often the brush was overlapping the trail, and if it had rained at all recently, you're gonna get wet. You do have to remember that this is bear country, so keep talking and stay alert because bears could be around any curve. We came out of the woods and it opened up. We went on the Yucak Falls Trail hike. It is 3.4 miles round trip with a 1,000-foot elevation change. It is considered a moderate hike with some stretches being quite steep. It is all downhill to the valley floor and all uphill on the way back. This hike was certainly an option, but how could you pass up hiking down into the ash and pumice valley floor to get an up-close look at the ash-covered landscape? Here is our first view of the Yucak River up close. You can see the ash and fine silt that still muddies this river as it washes all that pumice downstream. It was just really wild after hiking through that lush green and fall-colored landscape and coming out into these canyons that were orange and pumice-colored, that were carved out by the wind and water. It resembled more of the Grand Canyon than that nice green tundra area that we were in before. We had the time, since we were hiking fast, to go see the river confluence where the Knife River, the River Lethe, and the Windy Creek join to form the Yucak River. This spur trail takes about 30 minutes and adds an extra mile to the hike. So glad we did it though. Look how pretty this is here. Now it's time to start hiking up. Guy and I just finished hiking the Valley of 10,000 Smokes Trail down to the waterfall, then over to the confluence. It was spectacular, especially with the fall color being perfect right now.